La mia preghiera e anche la vostra ha sempre presente il dramma dei profughi che fuggono da guerre e altre situazioni disumane, in particolare la Grecia e gli altri paesi che sono in prima linea stanno prestando a essi un generoso soccorso che necessita della collaborazione di tutte le nazioni.
In a crisis situation, it requires extraordinary generosity and effort to come to terms with the dire situation in which many people find themselves. Also, I believe that it is necessary for Europe to face up to these problems together and to find common solutions so that Europe will indeed maintain its strength and even become stronger through these trials and difficulties.
At the moment in Europe, we have across Europe the rise of nationalist parties which have strong anti-immigration agendas and which are really protests against globalisation. And there's no doubt that many people feel deeply disconcerted by contemporary globalisation because it's resulted in huge displacement of peoples and change, very rapid change, which of course is always difficult for people to assimilate.
Ce qui est sûr, c'est que la mondialisation réduit la diversité humaine. Plus on voyage dans le monde, plus on découvre les mêmes constructions, la même architecture, les mêmes spectacles, les mêmes chansons, les mêmes films, etc. J'ai appelé du nom de idéologie du même l'ensemble des doctrines religieuses ou profanes qui considèrent que ce qu'il y a de commun et d'identique chez tous les hommes est beaucoup plus important que les différences individuelles ou collectives et qui s'efforcent de réduire ces différences, de les faire disparaître dans l'espoir d'arriver à un monde plus unifié, donc plus homogène.
People have talked about a clash of civilizations, and those parties are really those who really support that viewpoint. So there are talks, of course, about a sort of real or imaginary European identity, Christian identity for some of them. Now today, I would say the sort of the chief target is Islam. Islam being seen by those parties as a major issue.
The right-wing populists, in part, have been very clever. They've moved from a criticism that was rooted in race and racism to a much more culturally savvy form of criticism. The line is, we have nothing against Muslims. We have a problem with radical Islam that prevents us from upholding our liberal values and our social values that are deeply European. So the right-wing populists are coming across as, the progressive defenders of a more enlightened religion, but also of a more kind of accommodating liberal social order.
Really simple xenophobia is being justified or rationalized in terms of this concept of laicity, of their secularism, but the intellectual basis of that is so feeble and so self-contradictory that it's really what's plainly moving people is straight old. We feel uncomfortable with these other people here. What are they doing here? And are they going to ruin our way of life?
If we start dismissing every party which affirms the national identity against the international order, if we start dismissing it as populist, we are in effect dismissing what ordinary people want. The correct response for Europe, as for all the nations of Europe, is to say, look, people are not happy without boundaries. They need them in order to feel secure in their territory, in order to know what it is they are, where they are going, and who they belong to, and what law they should be obeying.
Our identity has to be reconstructed on the basis that who is here? Who is here that has to live together? And that has to be the basis of it. And there's an ethical drive to, if you like, redefine the national identity and go on redefining it in each successive epoch.
The parties, I suppose what one might call the liberal and more left-wing parties in Europe, which are very worried by the rise of the right-wing anti-immigrant parties, are going to find in the church a strong ally, because the church is a vigorous exponent and defender of the rights of migrants. The Pope's also very big on what he calls the culture of encounter, which is about, in a modern pluralist society, how you can develop an understanding of the common good out of lots of different narratives. But to do that, you have to be able to sit together, to understand each other, to listen to each other.